When it's time for promotions at the academy, do your students run the gauntlet? Recently, I published a video showing how we use the gauntlet at our academy, and the first person to comment was a viewer named Caesar, who wrote, "This is dumb. I'm not an outsider looking in. I've been through the gauntlet, and I can tell you with 100% certainty, I wasn't honored." Caesar goes on to say that the gauntlet is the kind of thing that invites abuse and overstepping boundaries. Before we get started, I first just want to say thank you to Caesar for dropping that comment and being so honest. Honesty is one of our pillars, so when I see it, I really appreciate it. And I want you to hear it from me as a professor. I might not be your professor, but as a professor of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, my heartfelt apology for how you felt during your experience in the gauntlet. And it makes me sad. It breaks my heart that that was your experience because, first of all, you shouldn't be getting hurt in a gauntlet. And second of all, I know how powerful and how meaningful and how affirming running through the gauntlet can be. And so for somebody to have the opposite experience, man, it really saddens me. There's been lots and lots of articles that have been written about running the gauntlet and what that looks like. So I'm not going to spend a bunch of time in this video doing the work that people have already done. I would just encourage you guys to go out and look at those articles so that you can kind of see the pros and the cons and what everybody's saying about it to just get an overview of what you might think to bring to your academy. Instead, I'd like to take advantage of this teachable moment because this channel wasn't designed for the casual jiu-jitsu student. This channel was intended for professors and coaches and students who desire to become a professor one day. Having said that, I realize that most of the viewers that we have on this channel so far are casual jiu-jitsu students, which explains the content of most of the comments we've been getting, but that's a different topic for a different video. For the time being, I'm just going to hit some general points and offer some advice to coaches and professors regarding the gauntlet and whether or not they might use it at their academy. I don't know if this needs a lot of explanation, but to honor your time, I'm just going to make this real short. The gauntlet is when your student or students get promoted and the other students line up in two rows to form kind of an alley, and the promoted student walks from one end to the other while the students whip them with their belts and they make it to the front to receive their promotion. Now, I know that even just saying that might, for an outsider, kind of seem a little violent, but I would remind you that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a martial art and it's violent by nature. So it shouldn't be dangerous and it shouldn't be harmful to the individual, but most of the people who are doing Jiu-Jitsu are at least okay with a certain amount of violence in their lives. Now, who invented the gauntlet and how it became part of Jiu-Jitsu culture is a topic of heated debate. I think most people have settled on a guy that came out of Machado's school who was in the military and kind of brought it into jiu-jitsu. But I have read in some books that in some old ryus, before jiu-jitsu was even exported to the rest of the world, that they were using things similar to this or other ways of affirming their students, including some of these gauntlet type activities. So it's hard to pin it just on one person, but you can see how this would tie to military hazing. I remember when I was a kid, I was watching 60 Minutes with my father on some random Sunday, and they were showcasing some pilots that had just completed their flight training. And these pilots would take the wings that they would get and pin them on their shirt. And people would walk down the line and shake their hands and slap them right here where they had just put that pin. And at first, it was just a sign of camaraderie. It was a congratulations. They would pat it and but it didn't take long before this digressed. And instead of a friendly pat, they started hitting it hard. And then other guys were taking the backings of the pin off. So now it was just two exposed spikes. and guys were walking down, shaking their hands and really giving it to them, really slapping it hard and cutting these guys. And then it became a big thing. And people were like, what's with all this hazing in the military? And this is an awful thing to do to other people. And they weren't necessarily wrong, but you can see how this once affirming and kind of beautiful thing was turned into something more violent and more sinister and more nefarious in purpose. And I think that the gauntlet has become just that in some cases, which is a great reason why you shouldn't use one. If your academy is leaning towards violent and people are rude and rough with one another, then a gauntlet is a sure way to hurt somebody or to leave people with an experience that is anything but positive and anything but what you actually want to use a gauntlet for. Now, I might be kind of biased because we do use the gauntlet at our academy, and I have found that it can be a most positive and fulfilling experience, but I also recognize that it needs to be led well. If you see your students starting to play a little rough, you need to have a conversation with the whole school about what the gauntlet is and why you do it. Keep in mind that anybody can try their hand at jiu-jitsu and anybody can get very good at jiu-jitsu, but the truth is jiu-jitsu is not for everybody. And some people might just not like that you have a gauntlet. They might be offended by the gauntlet. They might not want to come to your academy because they think that it's abusive. And that's okay. The best way to please nobody is to try to please everybody. In fact, the term we use is called the sift, and maybe I should dedicate a whole video to that. But essentially, the sift is what happens when a student comes in, it's their first time, they've never been on the mats, all the way to the point where they decide either jiu-jitsu's for me, I'm all in, I'm doing this for the rest of my life, or they decide to bow out. And they could decide to quit for any number of reasons. It could be family reasons, it could be personal reasons, it could be that they just don't like jiu-jitsu, or maybe it's the gauntlet. Maybe they don't like that part of the culture. But the reality remains that earning a promotion in jiu-jitsu is a big deal. It marks a point of somebody's life. They've put in blood and sweat and tears and sacrifice, and they've done so much to make this moment happen. They've put in so much effort. They've grown and become a new person that it's right. It's appropriate to celebrate that moment. It's appropriate to honor your brothers and sisters and express in certain ways how proud you are of them. That, even running the gauntlet can be one of these things. This affirming from all the other students and all the other coaches, man, we affirm you. We recognize that you've earned this. And also those people that are in line, they've helped you to make that promotion. You guys have been participating in some consensual violence for a long period of time, and this commemorates that moment. The danger is when this positive and affirming practice becomes malicious and spiteful. And that happens when a professor's authority isn't congruent with his character. And that is exactly why I created this channel. My hope in every video that we produce and publish is to give back to this community, give back to the sport that gave so much to me. And that's why I'm so grateful that people who comment, like Caesar, gave us this teachable moment. It's a gift to the rest of us. If you want to use the gauntlet, if you want to celebrate somebody's promotion, by all means, you should definitely use it. But do so in a playful way, in a fun way, in a way that's positive and affirming, never in a way that's malicious or hurtful or damaging to another person. Guys, we don't want to hurt each other. We want to build each other's confidence, build each other up, show our brothers and sisters how proud we are of them for the next step that they took, and not beat them for it. I bet if we get creative, we could think of lots of other ways to celebrate promotions that are just as affirming as the gauntlet. But if you want to use it, you should use it. And if you don't want to use it, you shouldn't use it. But you should definitely never be shamed into not using it if it's a helpful tool for you, if you're using it in a positive way. Listen, Professor, you set the tone. No matter how you choose to celebrate a promotion, lead it well. Give clear instruction and make your intentions known. Whatever you do it with love. Make it playful. Make it joyful. Your academy should be a safe and fun place where people can practice dangerous things. I'm sure there's more to come, but until then, happy training, and I'll see you on the mats.